Welcome to the AdoptUSKids webinar on responding to instant family. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Tracy Surgenian, Director of Capacity Building and Engagement at AdoptUSKids. I'm going to go through a few brief housekeeping items just to get us started. Next slide, please. The presentation will be 30 minutes and will be followed by an optional 15-minute Q&A and discussion using the online questions panel. You can also use the questions panel to let us know if you have any technical challenges. We will record the webinar and we'll share the recording and PowerPoint with links to resources with you later this week. Your line will be muted throughout the webinar. And we ask that you complete the brief survey when you leave the webinar. Your feedback is valuable to us and we really appreciate it. Now I'm going to hand things over to Bob Hearn, AdoptUSKids National Project Director, for opening remarks.
Good afternoon. I'm really glad that you can join us today. Instant Families is a movie written and directed by Sean Anders. The movie is based on Sean and his wife's story of adopting an older sibset from foster care. Early on, Sean reached out to AdoptUSKids because he wanted the family in the movie to start their adoption search through the AdoptUSKids website, as he and his wife did. After viewing the movie, we felt it was a realistic portrayal of adoption, showing both the joys and challenges of the first year. Throughout the making of the movie, they utilized the expertise of adoption social workers, adoptive families, and foster youth to ensure that the movie portrayed an accurate representation. With Mark Wahlberg and Octavia Spencer both starring in the movie, we believe that this has the opportunity to reach a large audience, and we believe the movie has a great potential to motivate families to investigate the possibility of adopting through foster care. Instant Family has created a website so that moviegoers can learn more about the opportunities to assist youth living in foster care, including adoption. And they have provided a link to our website, AdoptUSKids, as well as listing our phone numbers. We want to make you sure that we inform you, our partners across the country, about the opportunity to capture additional resource families and tips on how to make the most of this opportunity. And at this time, I'd like to introduce you to June Dorn, who is the National Adoption Specialist at the Children's Bureau, a division of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. June?
Thank you, Bob, and hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for taking some time this afternoon to join this webinar. I just wanted to give voice to the enthusiasm that those of us in the Children's Bureau feel about this film and the impact that we feel it can have on the whole child welfare and particularly adoption community. We were very excited when we initially had an opportunity to be part of a screening of this film and then actually meet with the director, Sean Anders. We knew immediately that this was a film that would have a big impact on the world of adoption, and not just because it's entertaining and well done and has some big name actors, but it is one that portrays some of the very important realities of the child welfare system. It addresses issues around the struggles of birth parents and efforts to reunify with their children. It looks at elements of the training and preparing of foster and adoptive parents. Looks at the needs around older teens and sibling placement, and also the need for the type of support that family needs in post-adoption. So, as Bob said, this director and his based this film off of the experience that he and his wife had. We were so impressed with this work that we actually invited him, and he is coming to our National Adoption Month event here in Washington, D.C., which will be next Tuesday, November 13th from 10 to 12. He will be speaking, and we will be showing the trailer from the film as well as a video about his own story that includes his whole family. So I would also invite you to, this event will be webcast, and just want to bring your attention to that if you'd like to hear from him personally at that time. We know this will be a great opportunity for you in your local jurisdictions, in your recruitment, in your response efforts, And we appreciate that AdoptUSKids is hosting this webinar today to help you prepare and answer any questions that you have. And I know they will be there to support you in your efforts to be responsive to potential increased inquiries and about increased interest in adoption. So again, thank you for joining today, and I hope that this will be beneficial to you. And I am now going to pass this to Melissa Otero, the National Campaign Director for AdoptUSKids.
Thanks, June. Hello, everyone, and thank you again for joining us. I'm going to just give you all a sneak peek at the website that Bob mentioned, instantfamily.org. So if we could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So I wanted to just mention that this is a little unusual for a movie to have a website that is beyond kind of promoting the movie. And this was really the director's vision. Sean, I think, quickly realized after meeting with everyone in this field that this family could have an impact, and he wanted to continue that down at the state level, the state and local level. So he asked his team to develop the website instantfamily.org. This is, again, a sneak peek. Instantfamily.org is live right now if you type it into your browser, but you will not see what you see here on the screen. That is just a placeholder right now. We anticipate that the site will be live when the movie launches on November 16th. So you're getting a first behind-the-scenes look at that. And the website really just features three areas: adoption and foster care. That will be that first response. That will come to either AdoptUSKids, or there's also some information to go to the Dave Thomas Foundation. There is the second bucket, and that second yellow circle, about how to volunteer. We understand that people might be at different places after seeing the movie. The intention is not for people to run out and foster or adopt, but there are many ways to be involved. So there was a bucket there for how to get involved. And then finally, the Learn More, and there's an area for people that are interested in donating money, and that would be through Charity Navigator, National CASA, and also the Dave Thomas Foundation. So if we could go to the next slide, Rebette. Just wanted to show everyone how that breaks down. So again, this will be the bucket for adoption and foster care information and how people are going to be connecting with us initially. And if we could go to the next slide. This just shows a little bit more on how you can make a difference in that volunteer bucket. So again, just a sneak peek of the site. And then if we could go to the next slide, please. I wanted to let everyone know that as part of a promotional strategy that Paramount is enlisting for this film, they have been providing free screenings across the U.S. since about mid-October. And we do have the opportunity to offer some free seats for anyone who is interested in pre-screening the movie prior to the release date, again, of November 16th. Just go ahead and send me an email with the names, how many seats you're interested in, and I can pass those on to Paramount, and they are able to provide those as they have capacity per the theaters that they have scheduled these with. Finally, I will just ask one thing, that if you do request the seats, that you do actually attend, since it is part of Paramount's promotional strategy, and not to just use them as like a free giveaway, because that does kind of mess with their promotion of the movie. And so now I would like to pass this to Nicole Robinson, who is our Director for the National Recruitment Response.
Welcome, everyone. The Foster Care and Adoption Specialists, commonly called FCARs, at AdoptUSKids are often the initial introduction to individuals and families interested in fostering and adopting children and youth. As an information and referral source, guide and support to families, the FCARs are preparing for increased inquiries from the Instant Family film by having extended office hours on the weekend and the week following the film premiere to answer phone calls. They will ensure that the demographic and email contact info of interested individuals and families are entered into our FIT database system. An automatic follow-up email will be sent to families 2 weeks after their initial inquiry. There will be a link to the states by providing interested families with contact information for their state recruiters. We will also offer online learning modules to families through our website and provide them to state recruiters to share with families. The FCARs will also be assessing and responding to the need for additional follow-up with families through phone conversations. Through our resources and collaboration with our state contacts, we want to utilize this opportunity from the Instant Family film to equip families with the information and referrals they will need to determine their readiness, as well as take the next steps in the process of becoming foster and adoptive parents. And I will then hand the next presentation off to Anna Marshall, who's the Digital Media Director at AdoptUSKids.
Thank you, Nicole, and hello, everybody. So Nicole told you a little bit about what we're going to be doing with our information exchange, and I wanted to let you know that many people who will see the movie, of course, will search online for more information. So we are considering actually our website, our email, and our social media channels really important pieces of that response system. On our website, to welcome people who have seen the Instant Family movie, we're going to place an ad or tile in the middle of our homepage. And it will consist, as you can see here, of imagery from the movie and say, inspired by Instant Family. This tile will then link to a new page on our website that we've created. And this page answers questions that people usually have about adoption from foster care, but in the context of the movie. So for example, toward the top of the page, there's a commonly asked question. At the start of the movie, the caseworkers start talking about how families are needed for teens. Is this true and why? We go on to answer that question on this page and many others. If you'd like to, for your websites, you'd be welcome to borrow this copy. We will make it available to you and you could tailor it for your state. This page will also provide information on taking the next step, so calling us, emailing, or using our online request form to request follow-up. And that's, of course, all by way of responding to the families that come to the website after seeing the movie, but we don't just want to respond. We also want to proactively reach out and be able to continue to engage them. So further down on this page, there's an email sign up where we can gather emails from all these newcomers and then send them email over the next few months. So maybe special emails or at least get them signed up for our monthly newsletter. Next slide, please. On our social media channels, like Facebook and Twitter, we're going to post links to all of this new content and share information about the movie, of course. We want to encourage people to see the movie because, of course, the more people who are talking about adoption and foster care and who understand the need for families to step up, the better. And when we do post on social media, we're going to use hashtags and tag people. So, for example, we'll use the Instant Family hashtag so that people who are searching for information or talking about the movie, want to talk about the movie, can easily find our posts. And we'll tag some of the actors in the movie because, hey, you never know when one of them will respond to you or retweet you, and all of their followers will then in turn see that and become aware of you and your social media activity. As with our web content, you are all more than welcome to share our Facebook and Twitter posts or to borrow the images and compose your own posts. And in fact, we'll be doing that with Instant Family, with the Facebook page that they are creating and other social media accounts that are talking about the movie. Paramount, who produced the film, has made a lot of funny GIFs and images for sharing, and this content will probably be pretty popular with especially the Facebook audiences. And then finally, we're going to keep an eye, obviously, a close eye on our Facebook page and on our Twitter account and respond to questions that people write in and ask. We'll also, be monitoring the Instant Family Facebook page and a Facebook group that they've started. Again, looking at those conversations and taking opportunities to point people to the information they're looking for. Next slide. These are just a few of the resources, since you'll be getting these slides after the webinar. The Instant Family page on the AdoptUSKids website, and some of the other resources that we've mentioned in terms of social media and websites. So things that you can point to or borrow a copy from. And next up, we have Tracy Surginian, Director of Capacity Building and Engagement for AdoptUSKids.
Thank you, Anna. I'm just going to share a few strategies and resources for preparing your response system for an anticipated increase in family inquiries related to the movie. And I welcome you to reach out if you're interested in tailored assistance with preparing your response system or connecting your recruitment, training, or family support efforts to Instant Family. So one of the biggest themes I saw in the registration report from people who signed up to participate was around determining which inquiries are really serious and making sure families have realistic expectations around becoming a foster parent or adoptive parent. And the movie really will raise awareness, and then we'll want to be intentional about helping families to learn more. So what the questions and comments I think are identifying is that people who contact your agency after seeing the movie may not yet know very much about foster care or adoption. They may be in the very, very early stages of learning and exploring. So we want our systems to be prepared to engage with people with different levels of knowledge and familiarity with foster care and adoption, and who may be newly motivated after seeing the movie. So my focus here is on how we can create opportunities for them to continue learning and stay engaged. If we could go to the next slide, please. People who see the movie may be motivated to take action, but at this time, they may be unsure of whether they want to pursue foster or adoptive parenting. If they are engaged and they have a positive experience, they may later feel ready to become a resource parent, or if not, they can still be a support to your work and to children, youth, and families, and share their positive experience with others who may then become resource families. So you could develop a brief list with ideas for various ways that people can help locally, including volunteering, becoming a mentor, donating items for children in care, whatever you feel would be helpful based on your needs. And you can share this in a variety of ways: social media, as a handout if you're tabling at screenings on your website, and with staff so they have that information too. Next slide, please. It will be important to prepare staff responding to inquiries with information. We encourage you to create opportunities for staff to see the movie, whether through the screenings Melissa highlighted earlier, or partnerships with local theaters, so that they can knowledgeably respond to the conversation that the film stirs in our community. You can provide staff with talking points to address questions or comments related to the movie. And your talking points can also be an opportunity to highlight local data so that staff responding to inquiries can provide data on siblings in care and teens in care, as June was mentioning, themes that come up in the film, the need for foster families, and the number of children awaiting adoptive families in your community. Next slide, please. You may want to take a look at the information you provide to prospective parents to ensure that it is consistent across all staff involved in your response system and across all teams and agencies involved in orientation, pre-service training, and licensure or approval of families. Consistency of information helps build a relationship with families, as they can trust that they're getting accurate information from each staff person as they seek to understand and move forward with the process. In order to engage families, you might consider adding more information or orientation sessions. And we know this can be challenging. If it's a challenge to make these types of opportunities available frequently due to staffing limitations, or if geography is a barrier, you could offer some information sessions by webinar. This would allow you to give prospective families the next step soon after they inquire. Again, staying engaged and continuing to learn. It may be a way to be able to talk with a lot of families and answer questions all at once, especially if you don't have the capacity to have in-depth conversations with each person who calls. As you consider how to increase your capacity to engage families, connect with your local foster and adoptive parent groups to explore how you can partner. They may have ideas for how they can play a role in responding to prospective resource families, answering questions, or providing other types of support. Next slide, please. Before I finish up, I want to highlight a few resources from AdoptUSKids that can support this work. So here on this slide, you see 2 short, interactive online click and learn modules with videos, activities, data, and information for prospective families, Nicole referenced earlier. This information can be used for developing talking points for staff. There's actually an option to get a text version of the content if you want to pull it that way. The resources can also be shared on social media, on your website, or in follow-up emails. So families who inquire, they have a way to continue to learn and begin to self-assess. It may also be a good way to make information available after hours when you're not able to provide a response right away. On the next slide, I've included 2 brief tip sheets. And the first one offers strategies to help you prepare for possible increases in the number of family inquiries related to instant family and to consider ways to leverage the opportunity. The second highlights ways to connect your response strategies to your other practices and several specific ideas for strengthening how you respond to prospective parents, including some ideas from the field that are being used by your peers. And we will send the PowerPoint out afterwards, so you'll have it with all of the links to the resources. Next slide, please. Ooh, and we just got breaking news from Melissa that instantfamily.org is actually live now. So exciting to share that with you, and hope you all can check it out after the webinar. So now I'll hand off to Beverly Gomerick, the Adoption and Foster Care Recruitment and Retention Specialist in Colorado, so we can hear about what's happening there.
Thank you so much, Tracy, and I'm happy and excited to be able to share some ideas that some of our counties and our child placement agencies are using in regards to instant family. Everybody's been super excited and has already been planning for months on the different strategies they wanted to use. If we could go to the next slide. One of the big things is the screening. There's lots of screenings happening right now already, but you can also partner with some of your local theaters to provide an individual screening for your particular agency. And in doing so, you can invite potential families or current families or people that might be interested in learning more about foster care and adoption. And one of the great strategies that some of our folks are also using is they're showing a kid family movie at the same time and providing childcare within the theater as well. The movie can have some slight triggering moments, especially for folks that may have been within our system in the past. So having a kid-friendly option is a really great alternative. Use your Facebook boosts and be able to invite people and target specific families, especially folks that might be interested in adopting older children or sibling groups. And at times in the past when we've had screenings, we've held a Q&A session afterward to allow people to answer questions that for current foster families or even youth alumni previously. We're holding currently a child welfare conference, and we're really excited to be able to show the film as part of our conference this week. So it's really great for your workforce to get out and view the film and be able to answer those questions, just like it was mentioned earlier. And, you know, it's the holiday season. It's a great team staff building opportunity for your whole group to get out and maybe go have dinner and go see the movie afterwards. The other thing I really want to share with you in regards to screenings is don't be afraid that just because all this is happening in mid-November, and November's a busy month in the foster care adoption world already, and now we have this fabulous opportunity here. But don't be afraid to host a screening or mom's night out even into January. The not everyone's going to have a chance to see the movie during the holiday season. So feel free and, a nice Sunday afternoon in January, host a screening there and invite your families to come then too. So this opportunity doesn't go away after mid-November. Keep taking advantage of it throughout the next few months. Next slide. Using social media is the critical component, and we've shared all sorts of different strategies and things that are going to be out there. So as you do that, when you continue to boost that and share those boosts out there, it links your name of your agency with the film itself. And that name recognition is really valuable down the line. So even if it's 6 months or 8 months from now, where somebody's thinking, maybe I'll look into foster care, they're going to remember seeing the name of your organization linked with that movie if you do that with repetitive boosts throughout the next several weeks. And you want to continue to do that with different mentions all the way back through the film. And really important here is to tie in the local need within your community. As you know, people often don't think that this doesn't happen in our neighborhood, it doesn't happen in our community. And the more you can tie in that local need, local data, and that local call to action, it will give you that bigger bang for the buck as far as recruitment is concerned. Next slide. Provide your agency contact information. Make it really simple for people to reach out to you. So that as you share a social media post, make sure you put in that local need, put your contact information, your website or your phone number, and that call to action. Help support XYZ County's youth today. Here's how you can get started. And really important here too is to highlight your upcoming information nights. Go ahead and get some of those information nights set going into January and February and start sharing those dates right now. People will think about it as they're going through the season and start planning on maybe checking in with you on January 8th when you have a big information night. But take advantage of all of the attention right now to urge people to come to those nights coming up in January. Next slide. You can also develop a press release within your local community, and we have several communities here that they have Adoption Day, they have other things that are already going on. So they're going to tie in with a news release some of their data about the local need in reaction to the film being premiered. So it all kind of ties in together and lets people know, again, this is a real situation. We have X number of sibling groups right now that we need to find families for. We have X number of older youth that are waiting for an adoptive family. So that real data and real numbers brings the reality home and takes us out of just a movie concept and really helps you recruit additional families. And you might want to prepare to have a foster parent or a youth or alumni that's available and willing to be interviewed by the media. That's always helpful to have that real life story right there ready to go when the media is asking the question. Next slide. If you have the ability, if you can show a local video clip ahead of the movie in the trailer, then that's amazing. We have a few agencies that had a video clip that they showed in theaters before, and so they were able to connect with the theater chain, drop that in right before the movie is being shown. There are also plenty of theaters out there that just have a still screen slide that they can drop in as well. So think about doing that even at the last minute here. You might be able to make that happen. But also display posters and brochures. Make sure you have some of that going on. If nothing else, ask the theater if you can have an information table there. And don't forget, a lot of movie theaters have posters in the back of the bathroom stalls, so don't forget those as well. And I think that's all I have. Thank you so much. Next slide.
Thank you, Bev. Perfect timing. We had a comment in the chat. Bev is awesome, and I totally agree. So we're excited to move into our question and discussion part. So if you have questions for the presenters or other participants, please feel free to type them into the questions panel, or if you have strategies that you'd like to share. We've been getting a lot of questions, so I'll start us right off. Melissa, we have some questions for you about the screening. Looking at how many tickets folks can ask for, if they can invite current foster and adoptive families, and how they can possibly get a screening if there isn't one in their community, or whether they can.
Sure. Yes, definitely. If you're interested in attending a screening, definitely send me an email and I can work with the screening team at Paramount. The number of tickets isn't really assigned. There isn't like you can only have 10. It really depends on the capacity of the theater where the screening is taking place and the capacity that Paramount has for additional seats. So I would say send me what you need and we can work that out directly with Paramount. They have for a few states, for example, Phoenix reached out to me and they said we want our entire division to go, and it was like 200 people. And so Paramount set up a special screening for the Phoenix Department of Children Family Services. So send me your wish list and we'll see what we can work out with Paramount. We are recommending, and I think Bev touched on this, it's not a movie that is necessarily appropriate for children. There is language in the film. The themes are not terribly child-friendly. And we're also recommending caution around youth that are in care or that were in foster care. Just again, we don't want to trigger any negativity or trauma. So that's just one thing that we ask you to be mindful of and to have some appropriate discussions around that. Did I answer all of the questions, Tracy?
I think so. And do you have any recommendations around partnering with local theaters?
Yes. So we have had a couple of questions come in. If you live in an area, for example, that only works with really large theater chains, really corporate chains, that is going to be a little bit more challenging. There's obviously sort of corporate standards, branding, rules and regulations that they adhere to, and they can be a little bit more difficult to work with. If you have a theater chain that is locally or regionally owned, those are going to be your best bet to work with them directly on, handing out materials or putting materials in the theater. They're going to be definitely more open to that. So we do have an in-field marketing contact that can work with you on that. But again, more so for the regionally or locally owned theaters, Paramount is not going to have any pull with some of those larger chains either. So if you're interested in doing something like that, you can also send me an email and we can potentially connect you with a local contact in your area that can assist with that.
Thanks, Melissa. And then another question that I think is both for Melissa and for Nicole. Can you tell us more about how people will be connected to their local agencies or organizations? And maybe Melissa, you can start, and then Nicole can add to that about how the FCARs are making that connection.
Right. So again, for the instantfamily.org, we're assuming that if people see the movie, they stay for the credits and they see instantfamily.org and they visit the site, there's a potential that their first pass and the information could potentially come through AdoptUSKids. So that can be through phone, email, and we also have a chat function on our site. So we will have an adoption foster care specialist in our office responding to all of those calls. And then Nicole, do you want me to pass it off to you to kind of walk through that process as far as how they would process that information down to the states?
Sure. When someone has a general inquiry into AdoptUSKids, the FCARs have an intake process where we get background information on that person, as well as share about the process of fostering and adopting to assess and determine their level of readiness and understanding of all that's involved in the process. And they are given the direct contact information for state recruiters, as well as directed to whatever websites they may need for their particular states. Because we we want them to be connected and to start the process as soon as they can and have as much information about what those next steps would entail. And if they need to follow up with us, they can. But we share all the phone numbers and contact information for the state.
Thank you, Nicole. So we've been getting a few questions about, if the movie is realistic about the time it takes to become licensed or approved, if people who watch the movie are going to have a realistic expectation about the process, and whether the inquiries will be serious. It's continued to be a theme in the questions. And one of the things that Melissa pointed out to me is that the movie does kind of touch on this issue of expectations in a humorous way. The social workers in the film reference, we'll just check if we have kids in the back office, or the idea of having a child home for Christmas, really kind of addressing the unrealistic expectations that families sometimes have that are not in line with how the process works. So there is a bit of touching on that in the film. But I also think that when people inquire, it's a great opportunity for us to really begin the process of development and support and engagement from the very beginning. So when we get an inquiry, it's when we can start to provide more information about the process, how long things take, what are the steps, why we do them, why they're important. And so people are beginning to understand that process more, and that's where the clear and consistent information comes in. And we really want to look at all of these inquiries as the potential to be resource families or to be involved in some way that's beneficial to children, youth, and families, and also as experiences that they may share with our child welfare system, they may share with others they know who may want to get involved as well. We got a question in the registration. We got a couple questions about whether the film touches on issues of trauma or therapeutic foster care. And Bob, I was wondering if you would be able to speak to that question a bit.
Sure. The family does touch on the fact that adoption is a lifetime process. The family is involved in a support group throughout the duration of the film. They talk about the parentified relationship of the older child with the younger children. They go into the trauma these children have experienced and how it takes time. They take you through the honeymoon phase, through the bonding phase, through a reunification phase, and look at this. And the family doesn't always respond in the best way, and they're showing that you don't need to be perfect, that you're going to go through challenges and successes, and that you need support systems throughout the entire process. So it does look at it from a trauma-informed lens.
Thank you, Bob. And another question that has been coming up that I'd like to turn to you. What is the response or your thoughts on people with lived experience in the foster care system attending the movie, or what has the reaction been? Is it something that we're recommending?
So we are definitely recommending that before a youth who is currently living in foster care or has recently been adopted, that you really determine whether this is an appropriate film for them. There have been some youth with lived experience in child welfare that this has really set off some trauma with them. So this is something that that a family should really sit down and discuss beforehand, that this movie talks about biofamilies and reunifications. It talks about not feeling loved. It talks about not being able to trust adults. There's some very poignant pieces in the film that relate to true stories that foster youth have experienced. And so we're not saying that those people should not attend the film, but there should be a discussion beforehand to determine whether that they're ready to see this or to see it in a public type of viewing as a movie theater. Maybe something better to see when it comes out on home video where there's a more controlled situation.
Thank you, Bob. And another thing that we're really encouraging in terms of suggesting that staff see the film and preparing staff is helping prepare staff for how to talk to resource families about the film, how to talk to youth about it if they do see it, whether it's something you recommend or not. They may choose to, so being prepared to engage with them and also being prepared to support foster and adoptive families in talking to the youth about the film if they do see it. And we do have a few questions related to some of the resources. So yes, we will be sending out the PowerPoint to everybody so you can access the links. And we'll also send information about the National Adoption Month live webcast that June mentioned. So we'll make sure to get that out to folks as well as a recording of this webinar. Melissa, did you want to share some of the ways the Children's Bureau has been supportive of the film? I see that you responded to a question in the chat and others may be interested in that as well.
Yeah, or is June still on the line? Does she want to address that? I think, June, you mentioned that Children's Bureau is giving Sean and his wife an Adoption Excellence Award this year for their work, for Sean's work around infant family.
Yes, I'm sorry, Melissa. Getting off of the mute.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, and and we've been partnering. The way I answered the question is that we have been partnering with Children's Bureau as AdoptUSKids to support the movie. And so I think Anna in her presentation had mentioned several ways that we are promoting the movie on our website and through our social media channels, and all of that as part of our work with AdoptUSKids, which we work in partnership with Children's Bureau on. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so from the Children's Bureau, AdoptUSKids is a program of the Children's Bureau, so that what they are supporting is our means also of supporting this film. But yes, we our personal impression was this was a film that would have a great impact on the community, child welfare, and as I said, we just about immediately after seeing the film in the summer that we invited Sean Anders to come and be part of our event, and also decided that he was nominated by our AdoptUSKids director and Melissa, but to give him an award, an Adoption Excellence Award, because we really think it merits that. And it is through all of these efforts that AdoptUSKids are doing that we support and we are behind that.
Right. And I think, June, we had also talked about potentially, I know Bev mentioned, that we would like this to go beyond November, and that there might be some potential training opportunities, that utilize the film in some way at a later date.
Well, I think there are opportunities for everyone in their current training efforts of fostering adoptive parents that perhaps some clips or portions of this film could be very helpful for. And we've also we have a grant we funded now that is developing a new training and development curriculum, a national training and development curriculum. It was awarded to Spalding, but they have a number of partners in this effort. They're in the second year of a 5-year grant to develop a new comprehensive training and development package. And so we have shared how we think this film could be even integrated or be part of that, or supported by by the efforts of what they're developing.
Thank you. And I think that's all the questions that we have time for, but we encourage folks to reach out to us by email. If we can move to the next slide. And Bob, if you could provide our closing remarks. And you may be muted.
So on behalf of everybody who's attended and all of the individuals that were on the panel presenting, we want to thank you. We think that Instant Family provides a unique opportunity that doesn't come along very often to really engage the larger public about the needs of the over 118,000 children and youth who are currently living in foster care and in need of an adoptive family. We hope that you will continue to partner with us and utilize us for resources and guidance and information so we can best capture as many resource families to meet the needs of our children as possible due to this opportunity. We wish you a great day, and please continue to send us your questions and ideas even after this webinar is over. Thank you so much.